Hi Elloa. This is our second video for our Prompt Me project, and you've picked the prompt this time. So I will just that the prompt is writing. Sorry, writing is one way of making the world our own, and walking is another. And that's from The Lost Art of Walking by Geoff Nicholson. So when you sent me this as a suggestion, I said, yeah, I'll do that because it terrifies me. Because I'm not. The idea of me having anything profound to say about any sort of physical exercise is kind of laughable to me. And you can tell I'm really nervous because I'm doing my nervous laugh. So I'm just going to start talking and see what happens and see how we go. That's all I can do. And I think I was kind of trying to have a little tiny think before I started recording, and I think I was thinking about walking, and I don't do walking like I don't go hiking, I don't do walks in the countryside or anything like that. When I walk, it's usually because I don't want this to sound really, really dim, but it's usually because I'm going somewhere. So like I walk the bus stop or I walk to my inns or whatever. And I was thinking about what walking I do and how it makes me feel, and I actually remembered that walking's quite easy for me today, and that it never used to be. So I thought what I might talk about was how I've not even made the world my own, but how I've made walking my own, and even, this year I've had a lot of problems with depression and anxiety. I've had from November last year till about March, April, May this year. I was having a depressive episode, and my anxiety, I've had really quite severe anxiety issues sort of from about this time last year till the middle of this year, and it's easing, and I work really, really hard on all that, but and I sort of started thinking about how walking is such a basic thing that everybody does and that nobody really thinks about, and that how much I've actually had to think about it this year, and how much something so simple actually became really, really difficult for me. And what I'm finding interesting is that I'm finding that this is harder for me to talk about than all the stuff about codependency and and all that stuff last week, and that was loads easier for me to discuss than this. This actually, in a weird way, feels like I'm being more vulnerable. It feels like I'm telling you something I wouldn't necessarily tell many people. Well, I guess because I am. And I guess what I kind of started remembering was that I remember, when I first was getting ill and when I was first getting depressed and when I was in it and walking, every time I moved one foot in front of the other, it felt like walking through treacle. It always felt like walking through treacle. It felt hard. It felt too much. It felt like I couldn't quite do it. And it felt like pain and effort all the time. And I hated it. I hated it so much. And it was just this thing that I had to do because everybody kept telling me that I had to keep moving to get better. And I hated it. And, and there's meetings near my house, like 5-10 minutes walk, and I'd walk to a meeting, 3 times a week, and I'd walk home and I'd hate it so much. But what I hated more was not doing it, was them nights that I stayed in, and it was too hard, and it was too scary, and it was too tiring, and I just didn't have the energy or the resources to go, and it always felt like, well, because the first issue is that you don't get where you want to go, but it always felt like something was taken from me, and you know, especially with my anxiety, walking in public was always, this year has been like a massive, if this doesn't sound really pretentious, but I've learned a lot about myself and other people just walking through town. And because that's basically how I got better, is I got up every single day and I got dressed, and usually I just got the bus into town and walked around town for an hour and then got on the bus and went back to my house. And I did that every day until I could stand being out for an hour and a half or 2 hours or 3 hours. And then I was out all day, and now I've got a full-time job, and for me that's a natural progression that's been made, is that them walks through town have led me somewhere. And oh God, I didn't realise this is where I was going to go. This is really weird. And I think right, walking is a way of creating your own world. You know, and I don't know if anyone watching has ever suffered with anxiety, but what it did for me was that every time I went anywhere, I was really aware of everything, especially myself. I was really hyper aware of myself and what my body was shaped, what my body is shaped like, and what my body feels like, and how it moves when I walk, and how I feel like, how I perceive people's reactions to me and to my body and to the space I take up. And I become very, very aware of all these things. And sometimes the only thing that could drown out that awareness was headphones in, really, really loud music, and just walk, just go. Just pick a destination and just go. And I can't tell you how many hours I must have just, you know, how much time I've spent this year probably just stood in town going, what do I do next? What do I do next? Somebody please tell me what to do next, because I don't know. And I meant that was kind of in a very sort of specific, what am I doing right now? And I think in a lot of ways also in a very kind of, somebody tell me what to do with my life kind of way, because I've had a lot of like, one of the reasons this video project came about was because me and you had a really amazing conversation about purpose and direction. And I would stand in town looking up going, I don't know where I'm going. I don't know where I'm going. Wow, I thought I'd have nothing to say and I've done 7 minutes already and it feels like nothing. And I created my own world by walking, I guess. And I wrote something about body image. It's on my blog about body image. I'll put a link in the doodah. My nail varnish is really chipped, and I'm gonna bust myself and show it on webcam because I'm really embarrassed. It's getting taken off later. I wrote something about body image, and one of the things I wrote about was that I love the way. I think it was something about loving the way my thunder thighs feel when I'm walking on the pavement with my big boots on, and that is like, that's like such a big deal for me, that I love. Because I used to, like, when I was really, really anxious, I'd walk down the street and I was so sort of consumed with myself and my weight that I would think that people could feel the pavement wobbling as I was walking. And now I kind of embrace that, and I kind of go, yeah, I have an impact. I have power. I have weight in an absolutely positive sense of the world. I leave a mark. I leave an imprint. I leave something of me behind wherever I go. Usually it's a pink stain, sadly. Yeah, and that I have impact. And that was something that came out of the last video. That was something you said to me, that, you know, this has impact, and that's a big thing for me. I always assumed that I had negative impact. One of the words I used to describe myself with is toxic. And I used to feel like I had like this green smoke around me of just misery and disgustingness, and that other people could catch it off me. And I don't think that's true today. I know that's not true. I know that's not true. That's not the truth about who I am. And in a way, every time I've walked somewhere this year, even if it is just to the bus stop. There was days when I would walk for miles and it wouldn't be a chore, but there was days when just walking to the bus stop was a huge achievement, and it was like running a marathon, and I thought I would never get there. And anyone who's been to my house who's watching this will know that it is literally probably less than 5 minutes walk from my house to the bus stop, and there was days when I would have to sit down when I got there because it had taken everything I had to get there. And I see now, thinking about it from this perspective and having this little conversation with my own faith, that I can see it. I do feel like I created something for myself. I created a world in which I could be well. I created a world in which I am well. And I did that by putting my big, because that's what I've been doing this year. I've been buying boots. I've gone through about 5 pairs of really big biker boots. And just putting big boots on and saying, I am armed against the world, and I am walking out my door and away from the dip in my couch where I've been sitting for months. And I created this. I created my life. I'm the author of my life. Yeah, I'm going to go with that. It feels, this feels a lot more vulnerable than the last video, which is why I agreed to the prompt you offered, because I knew it would bring up more stuff for me. So maybe I should let you pick the prompts from now on. Let's not go mad. But I'm really looking forward to watching your video. And anyone who's watching, I'm going to put a link to Elloa's video. And please, please watch whatever she says, because it will be beautifully deep and profound, because she's just like that. And I love you, Elloa. And anyone else who's watching, I love you too. So, bye.